Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mid-Speeds live class. We're going to start off with some common words to get our fingers going. Here we go. Ready? Satisfied, samples, mistake, stating, intended, field, length, pudding, informed, purchased, satisfied, exactly, available, hair, snow, satisfaction, outside, properly, superintendent, lonesome, included, selling, figure, 50, perfectly, truth, west, keeping, inside. And just in case you don't know, outside is OZ, inside is NZ, and exactly is XAL. All right, so let's move on to some names and addresses. Here we go. Ready? Kelly M. King, King, Tomaria High School, Tomaria, Wisconsin, 53048. Ms. Rhonda B. Jagnow, Jagnow, Victor Central School, Victor, New York, 14564. Mrs. Diana A. Russell, Russell, Newark Senior High School Library, Wright Street, Newark, Ohio, 43050. Mr. James L. Kennedy Jr., Kennedy, 34 Southview Lane, Hopewell Junction, New York, 12530. Ms. Pauline G. Dorward, Dorward, Bureau of Employment Services, 1011 Cleveland Avenue, Canton, Ohio, 45710. Belmore Memorial Library, 2280 Bedford Avenue, Belmore, New York, 11710. Attention, Mona Corman, Korman, Ms. Helen C. Albertson, Albertson, 2339 Northwest Avenue, Vinland, New Jersey, 08360. Ms. Catherine M. Homer, Homer, 4301 Main Street, Amherst, New York, 14256. Ms. Deborah A. Anton, Anton, Valesco Chemical Corporation, 2150 East Ohio Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60610. All right, now I have a drill for you that focuses on final BL, final BD, final NT, final ND, final RT, final RS, final RM, final RN. Okay, here we go. Bubble, robbed, trouble, stabbed, double, rubbed, able, grabbed, gobble, ribbed, fable, tabbed, table, nabbed, stable, sobbed, sable, cubed, dribble, mobbed, wobble, blabbed, hobble, lobbed, bent, bend, rent, rend, meant, mend, lent, lend, pant, mind, dent, find, want, wand, lent, end, sent, sand, jaunt, signed, haunt, fend, hurt, hearse, flirt, course, cart, purse, mart, nurse, pert, parse, shirt, farce, dart, terse, dirt, curse, wart, force, sort, worse, smart, fierce, chart, sparse, arm, iron, charm, learn, farm, fern, warm, turn, berm, spurn, norm, corn, firm, darn, harm, warn, term, thorn, warm, stern, swarm, yarn. All right. I've got some initial consonants that focus on initial PR, and they are in sentences. Here we go. Ready? He was presumed guilty because of the preponderance of the evidence that preceded the present trial. The preamble to the Constitution was prepared precisely. The precocious youngster found himself in a precarious predicament. Premature gray hair is present in prominent men. Precisely, proven products are a prime problem. The present set of prints was predated. Procure the priceless projectile by the proper process. Privacy is precious to the prize fighter. The precinct was prepared to protect the president. Probate courts prove wills proficiently. Printer's ink probably was present. He practically proved his case in a priceless way. The priest was the principal opponent. Some principals do not have proven principles. Pam is a pretty prim princess. The prince and princess went to the prom. I presume you were preoccupied. Predatory animals cause problems. Right. Now, moving on to legal briefs. I'm going to give you sentences that have beyond a reasonable doubt, Y-A-R-D or Y-R-D. You have the choice there. Burden, B-U-R-D. Burden of proof, either B-R-P or B-U-R-P. You would just have to flag burp so it doesn't conflict. Cause of action, K-A-U-X, and contract, K-R-A. Here are your sentences. You must agree on this point beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt, they proved their charges. The attorney proved his case beyond a reasonable doubt. The plaintiff must prove his case beyond a reasonable doubt. He carries a heavy burden at all times. It is the burden of the plaintiff to prove his contentions. It is a heavy burden that you carry. It is a tremendous burden. He can't deal with the burdens of the office. John is burdened with family problems. It is burdening him to handle the questions. What burdens does she have to bear? The plaintiff has the burden of proof. The burden of proof rests with the plaintiff. Who has the burden of proof? Counsel must present the burden of proof. You simply do not have a cause of action. The cause of action was set forth in the complaint. Do you know what the cause of action was? You will lose based on that cause of action. Testimony will involve breach of contract. The contract was void after 90 days. Did you contract to install power at once? He agreed to a contract with the subcontractor. We had to sign 3 contracts for the purchase. We contracted for necessary improvements. The contractor hired a number of subs. He is contracting for an addition to the house. All right. Now I've got sentences here that focus on the following briefs. Under, result, insure, which is S-H-U-R, actual, T-long-U-L, member, M-E-B or M-E-M, automobile, insurance, S-H-U-R-N-S, accident, purpose, P-U-R-P, automatic, A-U-K, understand, understood, control, K-R-O-L, above, income, initial N, final K, inquire is K-W, long I-R, or you can write it as R-I-R. Either one works. All right, here are your sentences. The ball rolled under the sofa. I did not understand the question. You should insure it for the full cost. His income seems to be adequate. What was the actual cost? Put the letter in the incoming box. The chief breadwinner needs insurance. The accident caused a lot of damage to the automobile. Did you say who the member was? Drunk driving causes many accidents. The damages were severe. Who was in control? Do you think that will be damaging to his reputation? There were 3 automobiles in the accident. The company insures against floods. The incomes were rising steadily. The house was not fully insured. I understand very well. I understood that class would not meet today. The controls are on the right. They really have a good understanding of the matter. The insurance company wanted to know the actual cost. Don't just reject it automatically. Your acceptance is really automatic. Do you have the results of the test yet? The club requires you to be a member. It was a controlled study. Can you meet the above requirements? What is the purpose of asking for his income? The members all voted in the election. When does the report to the insurance company have to be filed? I still have just under the required number. Put the damages in that category. Who is requiring that the goods be shipped by truck? I thought it was just generally understood that I would drive the automobile. The insurance will cover me. I will pay for any damages. The automobile company carries insurance. All right. Now, my next drill is going to focus on words that join with or. Here we go. Back or front, fly or drive, Monday or Tuesday, in or out, old or new, door or window, home or office, man or woman, tall or short, red or blue, good or bad, coat or jacket, boy or girl, yours or mine, forward or backward, train or plane, bedroom or den, rent or buy, dark or light, morning or night, car or van, up or down, eat or drink, top or bottom, day or night, first or second, mother or father, pass or fail, June or July, cash or check, small or large, adult or child, cat or dog, fast or slow, doctor or lawyer, black or white, win or lose, sit or stand, walk or run, couch or chair, write or call, hotel or motel, inside or outside, black or blue. And I do have a couple briefs here. Black or white is BLAT. Excuse me. In or out is NOUT. All right. I'm going to give you one last drill. Actually, we've got 2 left. We're going to go over the following briefs: somebody, someone, something, everybody, everyone, everything, anybody, anyone, anything. Here are your sentences. Has anybody done something about the leak? Everybody must have seen it. And it seems to me anyone could have at least put a bucket under it. Anything would have helped, but everyone just ignored it. Everything that can be done has been done now. Someone should spread out the wet things to dry. Does somebody have a rag? Please tell everybody to tell anybody they see that somebody must file the letters. Anyone should know that everyone should do something about it. Everything has been finished. Was there anything left for someone to do? Okay, now I've got some radio stations, locations with radio stations. All right, here we go. Lancaster, California, KKZZ. Walker, Minnesota, KQST. Grand Haven, Michigan, WGHM. Knoxville, Iowa, KMIA. Cameron, Missouri, KMRN. Augusta, Georgia, WGAC. All right, Tangle Tamers. This is our last drill. All right, here we go. Soul function, faithful performance, bail bondsman, clinical study, customary manner, more convincing, vehicular homicide, ordinary care, reasonably deduced, common law, evidence includes, avoid damage, infringement action, transaction between, avoid confusion, similar circumstances, unanimous consent, interpret rationally. All right. Moving on to literary and jury charge. I have a technical answer. I'm going to read this once at 160. Again, well, let's see, 120, 140, and then at 160. Okay. Let me just date this so I know we've covered it. All right, here we go. First time at 120. Then we were to install cleanouts at the ends of all drain pipes. Cleanouts also had to be installed at any points where the pipes made turns. Cleanouts are needed at the foot of each rise. When there is a horizontal run of 50 feet, it is also necessary to install one. If the plug to a cleanout is going to be flush with the floor or other surface, the plugs must be countersunk. It is necessary to have the same type of cleanouts for any waste or soil pipes. The cleanout in question had been countersunk and was at the end of a 40-foot horizontal run. In fact, there was a proper drop in the 40-foot run. In my opinion, the cleanout had been installed properly. The drop should have been enough to take care of the drainage without any problem. Okay, I'm going to read this again at 140. Here we go. Then we were to install cleanouts at the ends of all drain pipes. Cleanouts also had to be installed at any points where the pipes made turns. Cleanouts are needed at the foot of each rise. When there is a horizontal run of 50 feet, then it is also necessary to install one. If the plug to a cleanout is going to be flush with the floor or other surface, the plugs must be countersunk. It is necessary to have the same type of cleanouts for any waste or soil pipes. The cleanout in question had been countersunk and was at the end of a 40-foot horizontal run. In fact, there was a proper drop in the 40-foot run. In my opinion, the cleanout had been installed properly. The drop should have been enough to take care of the drainage without any problem. All right, last time. Here we go. Then we were to install cleanouts at the ends of all drain pipes. Cleanouts also had to be installed at any points where the pipes made turns. Cleanouts are needed at the foot of each rise. When there is a horizontal run of 50 feet, then it is also necessary to install one. If the plug to a cleanout is going to be flush with the floor or other surface, the plugs must be countersunk. It is necessary to have the same type of cleanouts for any waste or soil pipes. The cleanout in question had been countersunk and was at the end of a 40-foot horizontal run. In fact, there was a proper drop in the 40-foot run. In my opinion, the cleanout had been installed properly. The drop should have been enough to take care of the drainage without any problem. All right. Moving on to our literary. I'm going to continue with the O.J. Simpson book, Confessions of the Killer. Okay, and I'm going to pick up where we left off. Here we go. Ready? What now? It never fucking ends. Every time I turn around, it's something new, and none of it's pretty. This isn't a good idea, OJ. Fuck that. I'm tired of being the understanding ex-husband. I have my kids to think about. I'm asking you, man, please turn around. Woman's going to be the death of me, I said. I was seething by this time, and I began to mimic her. I want to grow as a person, OJ. I want to find myself. I'm tired of everyone seeing me as OJ Simpson's wife. I'm tired of living in your shadow. OJ, please. You want to know how crazy it got? I said, ignoring him. After she split, after she dumped me, she began calling to tell me about the guys she was dating. Oh, OJ, do you think they like me for me? Or do they just want to get into my pants? And you know what I did? I told her to just have fun. I told her she was a great girl and not to worry and to go with her gut. Guys will be lining up around the block for you, I said. You're gorgeous and you're smart. I know you'll pick the right guys. Is that twisted or what? I would think, what the fuck are you doing, OJ? And then I would answer my own question. Well, the sooner she gets this finding herself shit out of her system, the sooner she'll be back. That's fucked up, man, Charlie said. Tell me about it, I said. I glanced over at him. He looked scared. Relax, man, I said. I'm just going to talk to the girl, and it will be quick. I'm leaving for Chicago on the red eye. I shouldn't have told you, Charlie said. No, man, you did the right thing. This is exactly what I needed. Something to shake me up. This shit has been eating away at me forever, and it's got to stop. I want to get on with my fucking life. I've got to get this under control. You should let the lawyers handle it, he said. Fuck the lawyers. You know what divorce lawyers are? They are the scum of the earth, preying on people at their weakest and most vulnerable. Sorry, you guys. My volume hasn't been working, so that's the first time that it's worked. So sorry about that. Let's see here. Maybe they owe you then, he said. Fuck them, I said. I'm going to take care of this myself. We were at Bundy by then, where it meets San Vincent Boulevard. I jogged left for a few yards and made a quick right to get back on Bundy. We passed the light at Montana, and I slowed near Nicole's place. I kept going, though. I took a right on Dorothy and an immediate right into the alley behind her condo, and I pulled a few yards past it and parked on the far left near a chain link fence. I cut the engine and looked back toward the condo. It was so quiet, it kind of spooked me. I looked at Charlie again. He seemed pretty glum. Which one is her place? He asked. I pointed it out. I don't like this, he said. Let's go the fuck back to your house. You worry too much, I said. What if she's with someone? She better not be, I said. Not with my kids in the house. I reached into the back seat for my blue wool cap and my gloves. I kept them there for those mornings when it was nippy on the golf course. I slipped into them. What the fuck are you doing, man? Charlie said. You look like a burglar. Good, I said. I reached under the seat for my knife. It was a very nice knife, a limited edition, and I kept it on hand for the crazies. Los Angeles is full of crazies. Nice, huh? I said, showing it to Charlie. Check out that blade. Put that shit back, Charlie snapped. You go in there and talk to the girl if you have to, but you're not taking a goddamn knife with you. He snatched it out of my hand, pissed. All right, so we'll stop there. We'll continue that on another day. And let's do some jury charge. The subject is general. All right, here we go. I'm going to start this at 120. I will work my way up to 160, okay? All right, here we go. Members of the jury, every person who testifies under oath is a witness. You are the sole judges of the believability of a witness and the weight to be given the testimony of each witness. In determining the believability of a witness, you may consider anything that has a tendency in reason to prove or disprove the truthfulness of the testimony of the witnesses, including, but not limited to, any of the following: the extent of the opportunity or ability of the witness to see or hear or otherwise become aware of any matter about which the witness has testified, the character and quality of that testimony, the demeanor and manner of the witness while testifying, the existence or non-existence of a bias, interest, or other motive, evidence of the existence or non-existence of any fact testified to by the witness, of the witness, toward the action in which testimony has been given, or toward the giving of testimony by the witness, a statement previously made by the witness, that is consistent or inconsistent with the witness's testimony and admission by the witness of untruthfulness or the witness's prior conviction of a felony. The fact that a witness has been convicted of a felony, if such be a fact, may be considered by you only for the purpose of determining the credibility of that witness. The fact of such a conviction does not necessarily destroy or impair the witness's credibility. It is one circumstance that you may take into consideration in weighing the testimony of a witness. A witness willfully false in one part of his testimony is to be distrusted in others. You may reject the whole testimony of a witness who testified falsely on a material point unless you believe the probability of truth favors his testimony in other particulars. All right. Moving on to Q&A. I'm going to read this. It's one page. I'm going to read it once at 120, again at 140, the last time at 160. All right, here we go. First time at 140. This is going to be plaintiff, strictly Q&A. Here we go. Remembering back to February 28, at that time, were you in the vicinity of this courthouse and police department? Yes, I was. Did you have a vehicle with you at that time? Yes, I did. What kind? Well, I had a Harley Davidson. That is a motorcycle? A motorcycle. That was your vehicle, was it? Yes, it was. Do you know the motor number? Do you have that in your possession? No. Did you park your vehicle? Yes, I did. Where? In the back, in the parking lot. On that same day, did you find your vehicle missing? I did. Did you ever see that vehicle or any part of it again? Yes, I did. Where? In that individual's house. I don't know what his name is. I don't recall his name offhand. Was that at the defendant's residence? Yes, it was. At the time you examined the parts of your motorcycle, were they on your motorcycle? No, the parts were on his motorcycle. Do these pictures depict that Harley Davidson motorcycle? Yes. Okay, let's do that again at 140. And just for your information, Harley Davidson, I write that as H-A-R-L, and then I just come back for D long A-F-D. So it's two strokes, Harl and then D long A-F-D, date. Okay, here we go. Remembering back to February 28, at that time, were you in the vicinity of this courthouse and police department? Yes, I was. Did you have a vehicle with you at that time? Yes, I did. What kind? Well, I had a Harley Davidson. That is a motorcycle? A motorcycle. That was your vehicle, was it? Yes, it was. Do you know the motor number? Do you have that in your possession? No. Did you park your vehicle? Yes, I did. Where? In the back, in the parking lot. On that same day, did you find your vehicle missing? I did. Did you ever see that vehicle or any part of it again? Yes, I did. Where? In that individual's house. I don't know what the name is. I don't recall his name offhand. Was that at the defendant's residence? Yes, it was. At the time you examined the parts of your motorcycle, were they on your motorcycle? No, the parts were on his motorcycle. Do these pictures depict that Harley Davidson motorcycle? Yes. All right, last time at 160. Here we go. Remembering back to February 28, at that time, were you in the vicinity of this courthouse and police department? Yes, I was. Did you have a vehicle with you at that time? Yes, I did. What kind? Well, I had a Harley Davidson. That is a motorcycle. A motorcycle. That was your vehicle, was it? Yes, it was. Do you know the motor number? Do you have that in your possession? No. Did you park your vehicle? Yes, I did. Where? In the back in the parking lot. On that same day, did you find your vehicle missing? I did. Did you ever see that vehicle or any part of it again? Yes, I did. Where? In that individual's house. I don't know what his name is. I don't recall his name offhand. Was that at the defendant's residence? Yes, it was. At the time you examined the parts of your motorcycle, were they on your motorcycle? No, the parts were on his motorcycle. Do these pictures depict that Harley Davidson motorcycle? Yes. All right. Now we're going to do some multiple four-voice testimony. All right. This is going to be defense questioning. Here is your word list. Millbrook, Boise, Idaho, interrogated, squad car, handcuffed, Skyview, Deputy Perez, Brent Knox, Phillips, Tony, radio, securities, intermittently, intensive care, ridiculous. Now, I'm going to start this at 120 and work my way to 160. Okay, so we've got defense questioning, but plaintiff jumps in as well as the court. Okay, here we go. Mrs. Millbrook, do you recall anything from the recording that was played in this courtroom when you asked several times whether or not your husband was dead or injured? Yes, I do. And in response to one of Mr. Phillips' questions, you indicated that that was the first time that you found out that your husband was seriously injured. Isn't that right? Yes, ma'am, it is, to my knowledge. Do you recall having a conversation with a Brent Knox in the Boise City Jail? Vaguely, yes, ma'am. Do you recall the date of that conversation? Well, I think it was sometime in November. Do you recall the substance of that conversation with Mr. Knox? Most of it, yes. Do you recall saying, well, they tried to kill Tony. They told me they wouldn't hurt him? Vaguely, yes. I guess I said something along those lines. So you were aware that Tony was seriously injured when you left the house? No. Why did you make that statement to Mr. Knox? Your Honor, I will object to that question as argumentative. Overruled. Your Honor, I will rephrase it. Mrs. Millbrook, on that date after you were taken into custody in the city jail, you told Brent Knox that you knew that your husband was either dead or seriously injured. Do you recall making that statement? Yes, ma'am, kind of. You have testified in court today that you did not know whether your husband was dead or seriously injured until later that day when you were interrogated by Deputy Perez. That's when I officially knew his status. That's when you officially knew what, Mrs. Milbrook? That my husband was still alive. Actually, isn't it true that before you were removed from the house that night, they told you your husband was seriously injured? I don't remember. Yes or no? I don't remember. Later, at the time you were interrogated, which we have on the recording, you asked if your husband was alive. Is that correct? I think I did. At that time, you made some statements saying, thank heavens, thank the Lord. Yes, that is true. What made you believe Deputy Perez at that time and not earlier at your place of residence? Because someone came in the room, one of the other officers, and he said that he had received a call from the Idaho hospital that my husband was in intensive care. Mrs. Milbrook, do you recall sitting in a squad car that evening? Yes, ma'am, I do. And do you recall hearing a statement over the radio of that squad car that there was a shotgun victim at 908 Skyview Lane? Well, now, how do you expect me to remember all of this? Objection, Your Honor. It is assuming a fact not yet in evidence. Sustained. Your Honor, I am asking if she recalls the statement on the radio. She can answer yes or no. The witness is instructed to answer the question. No, ma'am. Do you recall Deputy Perez sitting in the patrol car with you? I don't really remember what his name was. Was that man in the squad car with you in uniform? No, ma'am, he was not. Was he in civilian clothes? Yes, ma'am. Do you recall Deputy Perez telling you that you were under arrest for murder? No, I don't remember that. Your Honor, this assumes a fact that is not yet in evidence. Your Honor, it calls for a yes or no answer. Proceed, Mrs. Delaney. Mrs. Milbrook, do you recall being told by Deputy Perez at your residence after the shooting that you were under arrest? No, ma'am, I wasn't told I was under arrest. You don't recall being told that you were under arrest? No, ma'am, I don't recall that. Mrs. Milbrook, isn't it your testimony that at that time you broke down and began intermittently crying and screaming at Deputy Perez? What would you do? I was upset. There were policemen all over the place. My hands were handcuffed behind my back. I was forced to lie down on the back seat of the squad car. I was crying. I don't recall making any statements. I did not believe that the gun had discharged. You have indicated in response to some questions presented by Mr. Phillips that you and Brent Knox left the house and went for a drive on this Sunday in question? Yes, ma'am. Could that have been Saturday? No, ma'am, it was Sunday. Are you positive it was Sunday? Yes, I am positive. Do you recall having a conversation with Brent Knox regarding some stocks and securities that your husband, Tony, planned to transfer to your name? I don't recall any such conversation with Brent. You never made that statement? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. All right, let's change transcripts. How are we doing on time? Good. All right. Looks like defense is questioning right now as well. Here we go. Before the accident occurred, what time did your place of business open? Say that again. Before April 8, 2009, which I understand to be the date of the accident we're talking about. When did the House of Beauty open for business? The exact date I do not recall. No, I'm talking about the time of day. Oh, 8. And when at the end of the day or evening did you close the shop? Depending on the workload, we would stay open to 8. And at that time, before the accident, you had 2 or 3 employees? 2. Were they full-time employees? One was full-time, one was part-time. And they both did hair? Yes. And did you have anyone else working in the business besides those 2 and yourself? My ex-husband, William Bueller. And what would he do? He would do the bookwork. In March of 2009, if someone was to call to make an appointment to have, strike that. Do you primarily work on women's hair? Family hair care. So you have children and men. If a female, child, or otherwise called to make an appointment, get an appointment, who would receive the call? It would be one of the 3 that was working at that time. You or the other 2? One of the 3, yes. Basically, Mr. Bueller did the bookkeeping? Yes. He was not involved in the day-to-day meeting of the public type thing? No. Did you suffer any loss of income as a result of the accident of April 8, 2009? Yes. And what income did you lose? I mean that generally, if you want to be precise, and your attorney may object to this because it's kind of broad, but I want to give you some leeway to describe what, if any, loss of income from your business that you have. It's okay. Go ahead and answer. I can only tell you on a daily basis before the accident how much I made. I could bring in $800 a day. And then now, at this time right now, or do you want to know right after the accident? What do you want to know there? My question was broad, but previous to the accident, before April 8, 2009, it's your estimate that you made about $800 per day. Personally, myself, it doesn't count what the other girls made. In the first quarter of 2009, if you know or have an approximation, what income did you net out of the business, out of the house of beauty? I do not know. Do you have any approximation at all? I do not know. Did you file an income tax return for the year 2009? Yes. Was that a joint return with Mr. Bueller? It would be at that time, wouldn't it? If you know. Yes. Counsel, I don't want to harass her or you, or what I would like to do is be able to get some information. I gather that she doesn't have a recollection about. Let's go off the record. Sure, all right. Let's go off the record. Back on the record. I'm willing to provide copies of evidence. Are you willing to give me the written documents? Yes, I'll give you the documents showing evidence of income of the House of Beauty. We are willing to share those with you, Mr. Varden, with the exception that any items which are privileged, such as income tax returns, we are still asserting those privileges. You are certainly entitled to that privilege. May I inquire of your client generally? Sure, go ahead. In April of 2009, did you have any other business other than the House of Beauty? No. Did you have any source of income other than the money derived from the House of Beauty? Me personally? Yes. No. Okay. Now, I understand your husband was a grocery checker, so he had income from that? Yes. Did he, as far as you know, have any income other than that which he may have received from the House of Beauty or his work as a grocery checker? No. did you personally lose any time from work as a cosmetologist as a result of the accident of April 8, 2009? Yes. And approximately how much time did you lose? 4 months. And were those 4 months immediately following the accident? Yes. So from April 8 to approximately August 8 of 2009? Yes. And that was because of your injuries to your neck, back, and the anxiety that you felt? Yes. After August 8, roughly the 4 months after April 8, did you ever lose any time from work? Yes. And how much time did you lose? The question is not coming across. Did you lose any period of time in the sense of days or weeks or months? Or were your hours reduced as far as how much you could do? I guess a combination of the above. When? I think he's talking about after August 8, 2009. So after the accident, after the 4 months after the accident. After the 4 months after the accident, did I lose any time from work? Yes. And what I'm asking is, what time did you lose from work that you could connect with the accident? I would limit myself to what I felt I could handle, sometimes working 2 days a week, sometimes working 3 days a week. It went on until I felt I could build it up to more. If I may, let's start with August 8, 2009. If you want August 15, I'm not trying to hold you. Roughly 4 months after the accident that you've lost from work, from then until January 1, 2010. And there we're talking about 3.5 months, 3 to 4 months. During that period of time, that 3.5 to 4 months, how much did you work in that period? It would just depend on how I felt that day when I came into work and what the workload allowed. If I could take it, I would do more. If I could take it, I would do more. If I couldn't take it, I would do less. Did you still have those 2 employees on January 1, 2010? No. Tell him how many employees you had. For a time, approximately 1 month, I did it on my own, and I believe a month after, I did hire an employee. That didn't work out, so I let the employee go. Then I hired another employee. That employee was with me for about a year. When you returned to work in August of 2009, how many employees did you have? None. And you, wait a minute, the years are mixing me up. 2009, did you say? Yes, right. When you first went back to work. It's my understanding the accident occurred in April. And what you've indicated today, you were off for 4 months. And I gather that you did not work at all during that 4-month period. Am I correct? Yes. And then you started to work an hour a day and up to 10 hours a day, I gather, on a gradual basis. At the time you returned to work, how many employees did you have? None. And during the next 3 or 4 month period, you did hire someone? Yes. And one person briefly? Yes. Someone else didn't work out very well? Yes. And then someone stayed a year? Yes. When you had those people, when they worked for you, did they work on a regular basis? No. Kind of depending upon what appointments were made? Yes. And were they salaried or paid by the hour? Both. And when you went back to work in August, do you have any recollection as far as how regularly you yourself worked? Not very regular. Can you give me any range of how often you worked? Yes, I would work when I felt I could capably handle it, depending upon what it was that day that would come in for the service. If I felt I couldn't handle the workload, I would not book the customers. I would sit and answer the phone. In your business, generally appointments are set up in advance? No, not necessarily. We do take walk-ins. And would it be when you yourself could handle the walk-ins? Yes. When I say the services for them, you'd do it or decline and have an employee do it for you. If there was an employee available that could handle it, yes, I would have the employee do it. And with respect to the people who worked for you, were they considered employees or were they independent contractors within your? One was an independent contractor and the other one was an employee. So for the employee, you paid Social Security, and yes. And for the independent contractor, he or she received part of the fee for the service and perhaps paid you something for using your premises and what have you. Yes. Now, as of January 1, 2010, and now we're talking about approximately 8 months after the accident, were you working at the House of Beauty at that time? Yes. And how regularly were you working at that time? As regular as I felt I could handle it. And what caused you, if anything, to feel you couldn't handle the work? Tension. How would you feel that sensation or feel tense? If there was a family problem, I would get upset and not be able to handle the workload. If I was driving to work and I saw something, maybe a dog got hit or a car accident, I wouldn't be able to handle the workload for that day. That's tension, nerves, and anxiety. Things would upset me very easily. Okay, I have no further questions. I have no questions, counsel. All right, so that concludes our mid-speed live class. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.